We need a treasurer's report.
Currently, we have $51,597.33 checking account. Our checks have been cleared except the one we have not submitted for our MSC security. $25. And that's because we haven't gotten this signature page to submit with the $25. But other than that, our checks have been cleared.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, 51,000, what was the page?
597.31.
32.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I'm moving for approval of the treasurer's report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I've presented the third quarter report. To give everyone an opportunity to look at it. I move that ACCC approve the third quarter report.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
And there are two usual expenditures. I will do them first, and then there's 8 other expenditures which I will explain later. I move that ANC60 pay Karen Gailey the amount of $125 for preparation of our November meeting minutes.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I move that ANC60 reimburse Rochelle Nigro for the printing of our November newsletter in the amount of 900. I'm sorry, 400.
My tip.
$497.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
So, as we know that Commissioner Niagara will be retiring after this year, and I've been informed that she's been paying for the web hosting since 2013.
No, since
I'm sorry.
before that. And
Before that.
the last time I got paid was 2012.
So, and that's because she didn't prevent.
There's an automatic subscription,
Okay. Yeah,
like Match.com.
yeah, but, so we have bills from 2013, 2014, 2015, and 2016.
And so I had a dialogue with the auditor's office, with Frederica Shaw, and she said that she would, when she looked at all of our stuff, she would approve it, so.
Yeah, so I had a concern.
How much is this?
So there's two parts to the documentation every month, or every year. These are yearly bills. So the one is called the posting Windows renewal, and then the other one is
I just want a total.
the
No,
domain name
well,
registration.
Yeah, we have to do it, and anyone who, I'm not gonna be around to be doing the quarterly report that will include all of this. But for every amount, there should be a receipt. So we can't do a total. There's 8 different bills for these 4 years. So we have to do 8 separate checks. So when whoever does this, will thank me for doing this. 'Cause you have to provide a receipt for each expenditure. We combined it all and say, here are all the receipts, and you do the math, the auditor. I think that's too hard for them. So,
Whether you do it individually or
yeah.
whatever, you've got to have a total amount.
Well, I
that you
haven't,
pay out.
have you added it all? I
You
mean,
can
because
add
I knew I was gonna write
So
individual checks, so I haven't added it
there's
all
a
up.
smaller one and the larger one. Do you want to add it up, or as we discuss it?
Can you give an estimate?
There's only 8 receipts, not that much, so.
We don't know if it's 0, we don't know if it's $10 or $100.
So that's what I'm saying, we're gonna,
There-
we
there-
have
there are
to do the
different prices
motion.
for each year, so I haven't added it all up, because I'm just saying it. I mean, you want a total, or
Why don't we,
Well, first off, I mean, if we're talking about paying her for something for 4 or 5 years, are we talking $10,000?
No,
Are we
Marge.
talking
it's, let's
50
discuss.
cents? What are we talking about?
It's about $90 or less
year.
each year. But, you know, it's 2 different bills each year. So,
So we're talking less than $500 for all
Correct.
of
Yes.
them? Okay. That's all I wanted to know.
okay. So, okay. So, I'll do this in one motion just to save time, but I'm gonna do it all individually.
No, but I think you have to do each one, don't you have to do each one as a motion?
You know, well, unless they're gonna approve one and not approve the other, they have to be individual checks. But, I mean, I can do them all in the same motion.
Can, I don't know, I'm asking.
I'm telling you.
Okay, okay.
So wait, Kevin, are you gonna do 8 checks or are you doing 1 check?
I'm gonna do 8 checks.
For a total of,
I don't know yet, she's gonna add it up. But you're gonna do 8 checks, but I'm gonna do them all in one motion. So I'm gonna say that
okay.
we move, and what, so this is for hosting and what's this?
So there's the domain and then this Windows renewal. There's
Okay.
2 parts here.
Okay, so each year there's a Windows
buy the-
renewal and
and
a
the
domain
domain,
registration. Okay. So we ready?
Sorry?
We ready? Yeah,
Very good.
I know it's exciting stuff here.
It is for,
All right, so what's the,
not bad.
Okay.
Good thing I
All
remember.
right, so I'll start. Yeah, so I move that ANC 60 reimburse Rochelle Nigro in the amount of $5.99 for the Windows renewal and $77.05 for the domain registration for the calendar year of 2013.
You say that the domain registration was $70?
So there's a, yeah, there's a $70,
$77.
between $77 to $80, this is GoDaddy every year. Yep. This is the
Are you sure
renewal.
you don't have them backwards?
No.
This
These are the
is
2
what it
receipts
says.
that are generated every
Maybe
year.
Because
you can
usually
find
it's about
something
10,
cheaper.
you know, $10 to
Yeah.
$15 a year for a domain registration, but it's, the amount sounds right for a hosting account.
So maybe I had the phrase backwards.
Well, it says right
Yeah, it
there,
says,
domain
yes, it says
registration.
domain registration is a $77 one.
That's strange.
Well, I'll pass it down so y'all can see it. you
So
got that?
are you making that same
Yeah,
motion
now I'm gonna go
for
to the next year.
2014?
Yes.
Are the numbers gonna change
Yeah,
at all?
the
Yes.
numbers will change.
Oh, they will.
So, for 2014, for the domain renewal, it's $18.17. Yeah,
Maybe
this
they
now, this
labeled
is
it
different.
backwards. Maybe they labeled it backwards. This is what came out.
Okay.
Oh, it's 18, 17.
Yeah, 1817 for the domain renewal, and
Okay, so can I interrupt you because, yeah, you're actually reading it wrong.
oh, okay.
So I'm looking at the 2013 invoice, okay?
Yes.
So the domain registration is actually,
The lesser price one?
no. Trying to see what it clearly says here. It's got a list price, it's got a purchase price, it's got an ICANN fee, so it's a total of $5.17. And then the hosting account is $71.88 for a total of $77. So this $77.05 is both the domain registration plus the hosting.
Okay.
And then the other invoice,
Okay, but the hosting, the Windows renewal, that was $5.99.
yeah, this $599 is an additional hosting cost. It's not the complete cost. And the actual domain registration is only $5.17 out of the $77.05.
Okay.
Can we
What?
blanketly say we will pay whatever these fees are up to $500?
No,
No.
can't say that, Marcia.
Because it has to be in
Exactly.
the minutes.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
And she
I
knows,
was just
she
confused.
knows this is coming, so.
So, yeah, y'all will thank me next year.
I'm sure, Kevin, I'm sure. God, I'm
So,
sorry. If we had
Okay,
known-
that one we did.
all right, so did we correct this already?
Okay, so the first motion is $5.99 for,
Well, this is all one motion, so.
well, I know, but
Okay.
the 2013
Yeah, 2013.
is $5.99 for Windows renewal and $77.05 for domain, domain registration and hosting. Correct?
Yes. Right. So,
So
for
for 2014,
2014,
then we have domain renewal is what?
1817,
Oh, 17.
1817,
17, right?
yes, 17.
And what's the other?
The, yeah, I guess the hosting Linux renewal is 8388.
The hosting of what?
Linux is Linux. I'm not sure I pronounce that.
Linux.
Linux.
Renewal is how much?
8388
Okay.
for 2015. The hosting Linux renewal is 8870. And the domain renewal is 1921. Now, for 2016, the domain renewal is 1817. And the hosting Linux renewal is 8870. That's it.
Okay. So Kevin made the motion, so we just need a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I totaled up $399.87.
Okay.
So then I have to make a statement, actually. This would be under old business, are we done with something?
Yeah, we're done.
So we have all the motions and whatever you need to pay, Rochelle?
Yes, now I have to write on this.
Okay.
So when I talked to Frederica Otterday, she's told me to make a statement because I do all the communication for the commission and then with the webpage. So since I'm not running for next term, after the next election, whoever is still on the commission, I will be turning over to the commission the passwords for the webpage, the password for the Facebook page, the password for the Twitter, the password for our YouTube, accessibility for the Google Voice, and the camera is mine, and the camera will not be making an appearance. The camera is gone after this meeting. It's not gonna be here next meeting. She said, so I was advised to just anything that I would have, quote unquote, influence or control, to just end it, so, this meeting.
You said there won't be a next meeting?
No, I'm saying the camera is not coming.
Oh,
The
okay.
camera is gone as of this meeting, so the camera is mine, the camera does not belong to the commission. And then after the election, who's ever still on the commission will be receiving all of the passwords.
So noted.
There you go.
So noted, my dear. Oh, I'm gonna cry. All right, old business, was that part of old business?
Mhm.
Okay. I know you wait patiently every month, but
No problem. I'm Naomi Mitchell, I'm with Councilmember Charles Allen's office, I'm his community liaison. Two things I need to say quickly, since we're ready to go. This Friday, we will be here at the Compass Coffee, right there on 7th Street, from 8 a.m. to 9:30. Council member, chief of staff, various other staff are there, whatever it's the first Friday of every month. For people to just come in and talk to anybody, any one of us, to make it easy for you to access the staff without having to make an appointment and come into the office. So we encourage you to come out. Compass Coffee, right, a couple of doors down from
7th and between P and Q.
The other thing is, today happened to be one of those days where the council met in legislative session, and our council member got through a whole bunch of different legislation. And so we actually had a notice that we could bring tonight, which we put up on the table. The way the council works, every bill that's been introduced for an entire year has to be completed by December. Otherwise, it all dies, whatever's been in the pipeline. So lots of work is being done in these few months. There's a certain process that involves introduction, a first reading, a markup, a second reading, and then ultimately a final vote. So on some of these things that we introduced today, it actually moved to final approval. So an automatic voter registration amendment was passed today that he introduced, which means anytime you sign up for anything at the DMV, any kind of ID, you'll automatically be signed up for voting. So it removes some of the barriers to voting. There are a couple of other things on here more than once, but there's a Climate Change and Resiliency Act on there. It's had its final reading, but not its final vote. That'll have to happen next. And that's to look at the question of what should we be looking at in the future in DC in terms of climate change and assessing potential risks like hurricanes and like an earthquake. I mean, we can assess that, but to get a better preparedness plan for the fact that we should know some of that's going to happen to us because of climate change. Another thing is commitment to flag request. Right now, if you want a U.S. flag, you can go to the Congress, to the congressional office where they have a store and buy a flag that was flown over the Capitol. This act today allows you to do that for a D.C. flag. So if you want one that's flown over the D.C. building, it's just the cost of the flag if you want to have one of those. Lots of people are now having flag posts in front of the house and waving and buying D.C. and U.S. flags. Another thing,
How much is a DC flag?
I have no idea, but whatever it costs, it's only the cost. It's not any other fees attached to it. And it will have an authenticity certificate that says this is a genuine DC flag.
That was flown over the Wilson.
That was flown on the Wilson. Or the city hall. A couple other things. There's a student loan ombudsman program. This was introduced today, so it's got to get through the next month's bumps. Having to do with the ombudsman for student loans. A lot of times, student loans are whacked up, and the student who has like no help, no assistance, just has to take it or leave the country. So they're building in ombudsman aspects to help between the banks or whatever and the student as to whether it's a fair kind of cost. Another has to do with the comprehensive education facilities. Some of the schools around the city have had modernization and some haven't. And the point is, sometimes people get told in 2018 your building will be modernized, and then 2018 they're told now you move to 2020. And so this would require a comprehensive 10-year plan instead of a 6-month, so that people can plan with some certainty about when their school that their kids go to is going to be upgraded And that may mean that they may or may not want their kids to go to certain schools.
Upgraded or built.
Or built correctly, quite sure. Another is vacant property enforcement. Right now, if you've got a vacant property and you don't do anything to it, and it just goes on, it often blights the neighborhood, you know. And so, right now, you can go up to 3 years. This without having to do anything. And now this would lessen that to 2 years. So, and allowing for some rebate from the huge fines you get if you pay it within the last year, some stuff like that. But it is the reason we have vacant property assets. A lot of our quarters have been able to be revitalized because blighted properties have been there since the 60s. The owners are someplace else, you know, distract from people being able to get businesses going on the streets. So one of the main streets, a lot of the IRS, Marysville, et cetera, benefited from getting all those owners to either sell it or fix it up and not leave it there so that you don't want to go to a business next door because you got past all this blighted stuff. It's not attractive material for other businesses. And the final, it's not the final, but the next thing is something called specialty license plate amendment act. It would, you know, you can go buy all kinds of specialty plates to put in the car, but they've added 2 new ones. One has to do with women's veterans, saying woman veteran is the ones that put it on the tag, and the other has to do with bicycle safety, saying that in effect you're aware of bicycles. And finally, for some reason, there is some concern that school nurses that are currently in schools working extra hours might not make it to this budget year. So there's an emergency legislation today that said wherever there is a nurse working at least 20 hours, that will remain through the rest of the school year. So it was a very busy day today for the council member. He's very busy, he writes lots of bills, and I usually don't tell you about it, but this is a busy period. So as we get to this next month, I'll update you on what's going on.
I have a question on the vacant property. About 4 years ago, we, in this area, did a list of vacant and blighted properties. We had, I think the list was 110 properties, which included almost all of our AMC area, because it was done by the Civic Association. And the city does not enforce any of this
Yes,
stuff.
they do.
Well, they didn't do a very good job. Is this legislation going to in fact make them
What
go
happens
after these
right-
people?
What happens right now is if someone reports vacant property, if it's just vacant but not blight, there's a certain percentage of tax increase on that property. If it continues to become blighted, then that doubles like maybe 10 times the tax. And at some point then, the city, having notified the owners that they're not paying these enhanced taxes, are told that the property will be put up for tax sale. And at that point, people can bid on it to pay the taxes. There's been some recent legislation where there are seniors that they can't just take all the equity out of the property as well. They have to give something back. Most of the time, people will show up. In these days, with the kind of property values we have, few owners of really valuable property allow it to go to tax sale. They have about a year to get it back before it's funded. So they wind up selling it. And when
Let me
it's
make
sold,
a correction. When I said vacated properties, I meant to say 110 blighted properties. And we had the guy from the city come out and speak at a civic association meeting explaining the process. And it's a good 6 to 9 months of sending letters, trying to get information to owners, finding them, blah, 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 blah.
there is that
How is
legal
this going to be
requirement.
affected with Anita Bond's idea of, you know, they're blighted, you're taking them?
It simply shortens the period of time in which it can remain blighted from 3 years before they move it to do something about the property to 2 years.
And is there gonna be anything where, now if you have a blighted property and you put a for rent sign on it, it's no longer blighted, it becomes something else and the tax is lowered because it put a for rent sign on it?
No, if it's for rent and not standard code, it doesn't get exempt. It gets fined.
Well, I mean, that hasn't been my experience.
Mine either.
So there are so many exemptions that these property owners use, and then they use them serially and they use them repeatedly. And it's not on our side of the street, it's on the Ward 2 side of the street, but over at 9th and O, we have a terrible example of one, where the property owner will put up a banner that says that the building is being leased. Then, when that period of exemption passes, then they will get a permit to change a window. And that gives them another exemption. And then they will keep cycling it over and over and over again. This property's been vacant for 10 years. And they keep getting exemptions.
Yeah, they are getting better at protecting those guys and stuff. But there's a whole bushel of that going on in the city. And so they're not necessarily as efficient as communities would like because there's so many notices and so many converts that they have to concur with. And they've got to have a database that actually tracks all that. And that's where I think the shortcoming is that they don't really have a good handle on where they are. And, but generally, people are looking for houses that are analogous to the buy develop. So if they're sitting there vacant and blighted, I assure you some buyer developer someplace is trying to track down that owner so that they can buy it and develop it.
There are, but the problem is that there are property owners that just can't make up their minds what they want to do with their property. And as
If
long as they can
anybody
keep
identifies
dodging
one
the
and
blighted
insists on
property.
it, they will get it, they will get out and board it up and they'll pursue aggressively trying to find an owner.
There's one in Kevin's district, was right across the street from where I live, 500 block of O Street. That building has been vacant for at least 25 years, as far as I can remember. And now homeless people are camping out on the steps.
We hear about these routinely, and when we target them, we push
And
them.
we've gone and we've testified before, the Board of Condemnation of the sanitary buildings to try to get DCRA to move on it, and it just goes on years and years
Let
and
me
years.
pose this this way. About 2 months ago, the mayor sat in DCRA every day, 5 days, with every department trying to take all the issues she has on her list with their performance. And whether it's helping improve it or not, but that kind of attention has been necessary. That agency is massive, it has massive mission, and.
Which
and it's-
agency would you
DCRA.
say?
And so everybody has issues with their effectiveness. I mean, whether the architect is licensed or not, they'll say that's not our purview, but,
They
I
like
mean,
it more than
Exactly, they don't.
it's
This
just
young
too
lady
big,
had a
too
question.
big.
I wanted to know, does this apply also to commercial properties?
Yeah,
Or just, okay. While you all were talking about that, I mean, the property next to me that's been vacant, I'd say a minimum of 6 or 7 years, is the one we talked about earlier. And the only, it has been vacant, they got sued because they wouldn't fix the roof, well, it's a DC property. And so they fixed the roof, but then they were trying to sell it last year for like $899,000, and they wouldn't accept any lower bid. So, I mean, there's just been this constant go around, they'll come and cut the grass like once a month. But, I mean, without Commissioner Napro, we wouldn't even have gotten that back sealed up that they just did today, because she went directly to the director.
It just went on too long, it's just, and it's how.
But it's been that way, and I always call on it, they've had homeless people sleeping in there. So I just wondered with all these things that they're trying to do about blighted property, this is a property that belongs to DC Housing, and it's definitely blighted, and nobody has done anything. I mean, other than cut the grass.
DCHA owns a lot of scattered site housing, as they call some reason, they don't want to sell it, but that's what they are being requested to do.
Yeah, the last I
to sell
heard,
it.
well, they're trying to decide between a developer or a private owner, and I think they're just trying to see if they can get as much money as possible, but then they said they had to wait for red tape, they have to clear with Fannie Mae or something like that.
And it's ruined inside, it's been open, remember when the front door
Right,
was
because they
open?
had to go in, pull out all the drywall and everything, because there was mold in there from the water from the roof, so.
We're talking about money, and when we're talking about money, it's always going to be one reason or another that you can't get an issue dealt with and addressed. When we get one done, it's a rolling issue. I mean, it continues to occur. If you think about it though, the amount of vacancy in Brighton today is nothing compared to 20 years ago. So the economics of it's going to catch up with that issue simply because this is a hot city and people are trying to buy up everything that they can buy.
I have another question that has nothing to do with blighted property or whatever, or your list. It was announced on all of the TV stations that this year homeowners will be fined if they do not shovel snow. What is the city gonna do about its owned properties? Who's gonna fine the city?
There's actually a hearing that's been held recently about the city's plan for snow removal. And one of the experiences last year that sort of highlighted the city's part in that was the big snow we had where all the snow was shoveled up on the sidewalk and at every intersection you couldn't cross because while neighbors might have shovels in front of their houses, all the corners were, you couldn't pass them.
Well, even, I'm referring to things like the city owns the property at the corner of Fifth and I. So from the middle of Fifth Street to I Street is city-owned, and it never gets shoveled because it's owned by the city. There is another piece of property very close by to that one that's also owned by the city.